And welcome back, everybody, to the TV show podcast. I'm Jay Black, joined every week by Rhea Hughes. Rhea, how are you?
Oh,
And internationally beloved author of
where is it?
Loud, Angelo Cataldi. He's got it right there. You can get that at angelocatali.com. Hardbacks left at angelocatali.com, Angelo.
Yeah, that's about it now. Amazon's out, but the paperbacks are out, and they look pretty good too. But if you want the original, it's going to become a huge collector's item. You will get a first and only edition if you go to angelocatali.com, and I will personalize it with anything you want me to say, including profanity.
AngeloCatali.com is the place to go for that. You can buy a hardback there. Currently trading on eBay, $12,000 a piece if you buy one. It's an investment, but better than Bitcoin anyway. So before we get started on today's topics, I wanted to take a moment to talk. Last night, Andre Braugher, I knew him from Homicide: Life on the Streets.
Yep.
My college girlfriend had a huge crush on him. And she kept talking about how much she loved Homicide. And I was like, you love Andre Braugher. And she was like, well, that too.
Yeah.
My kids and wife know him from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Passed away.
Phenomenal.
61. And what do you guys think of Andre Braugher?
Hey, here's the thing. He did a show. It only lasted a couple of years with Ray Romano around 2009. And Family of Three. I don't remember the exact name of it. It was really good. And Ray Romano was probably better in that show than anything I've ever seen him in, including Everybody Loves Raymond. And this guy, what I sensed from Braugher was he was a guy that made everybody he worked with better.
Yeah,
he was so good. He could do drama, he could do comedy, and he was a talent. He was a bit. This is just not a good time in. Matthew Perry, Norman Lear, and now Andrew Braugher, all really fast order. Not
giants
good.
of television, yeah. And Rhea, you're a Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan?
Colin, I loved it. And he was like the perfect foil for the lunatics in the asylum.
Yes.
That's kind of what I loved about him. As Angelo mentioned, he could do anything. He could play any role. And he was kind of like a guy that never really got probably his due because he was just very good at what he did. You know, at any role that he needed to do, you knew when he popped on the screen, you're like, okay, I'm going to get a very good acting performance. Not phenomenal, not like Oscar worthy, but just a very good, solid actor who I enjoyed.
Yeah, he was great and gone too early. It's a shame, 61. There's that line in War Games. Yeah, as I've gotten older, the idea of what young is has gotten a lot older as well. There's that great line in War Games where he goes, he was so young. He died so young. And he goes, well, he was 40. And she's like, oh, that's not so young. Because they're both teenagers. And now that I'm 47, anything lower than 90 is too young. So
Yes.
So let's switch over.
Let me interrupt for 1 second. The show I was referencing is called Friends of a Certain Age. And It was incredibly underrated. It was a great show that didn't last long.
Yeah, I remember it's Scott Bakula was in that as well,
yes,
if I remember correctly.
It was a really good show, and I don't know, it didn't make it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's he rebounded with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which was a great show as well. So, and I think that went 6 or 7 seasons at least. So this is something we were talking about. By the time you hear this, they may have settled on a host, but a little bit of controversy because the Golden Globe nominations came out. By the way, did you see, Angelo, Succession broke the record for TV nominations with 9?
Yeah.
Still seems too low. I hope they win all of them. But they haven't been able to find a host yet. They went out to a bunch of different people. They all got a no. And I did a little research on this, and the prevailing thought among comedians and entertainers is taking one of these hosting gigs only has downside to it. There's no upside. And one of the things they always mention is Kevin Hart got the Oscars job, and then someone went and dug up his old tweets, and they wanted him to apologize, and he just was like, you know what? I don't need the hassle, walking away. Jimmy Kimmel has gone on record as saying it's a ton of work with no upside. Like if you do a great job, like when was the last time someone got a bump from an award show? I guess Ricky Gervais, maybe.
Yeah.
People really liked him.
Maybe.
Golden Globes. Billy Crystal's the only other time I can think somebody was like, wow, great work. But otherwise, it's only negatives if you do poorly. So I just wanted to talk to you about like some of your favorite hosts and what makes a good Oscars or Golden Globes or any kind of award show host in your mind, Angelo.
Well, I'll just start by saying this. The actual TV, the Golden Globes is scheduled for January 7th, and they don't have a host. Jay, you're a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
I'm putting your name in the ring. You and Conklin together could be like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler.
Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
I just got to say, all right, it's so obvious. There's only one host for that show. It's a drunk fest. You need a guy like Ricky Gervais to say negative things, and these people are so drunk they don't even realize they're getting insulted. I loved Ricky in that role. Every year that he did it, he became more obnoxious toward the people in the audience, which I loved. You can't replace him. Don't try. Bring Ricky back.
Right.
Or Jay Black and Joe Conklin.
By the way, we're cheaper than Ricky. If you're listening,
Yes.
I bet you are.
Well, and that's the problem with it, Jay, is that there's an intersection of what Angelo said. Yeah, a lot of these, the Golden Globes are a little bit looser. They're all drinking, they're having fun, but then you also have people in the audience and viewers who, they don't realize that these people are actors, so they've acted in a role. They're not actually the actor who's the selfless, wonderful, amazing person. And when a host, ribs them or takes a shot at them, gives them a good burn, everybody gets offended. So, I'm kind of with Kevin Hart. He got burned by the old tweets, but it's like, what's the upside if I can't do the show I want to do in terms of having fun at the expense of these people, some of whom are just going to get their panties in a twist?
Yeah, I think that you go either one way or the other. You go with someone like a Ricky Gervais, or if not, don't even get a comedian. Get like a master of ceremonies. Get an old school. Get a guy in a tuxedo who's going to glad hand and make this thing into a love fest. Just lean into the schmaltz or lean into the acid, but don't try to cut it down the middle. And yeah, as a comic. Listen, I'll take any gig. Angelo, I will do any gig. I will perform at your window behind you if someone pays me.
Let me just
I can say
Jay, they tried doing it without a comedian one year, the Oscars. Yes. They had James Franco, and Anne Hathaway.
Oh, God, it was terrible.
It was beyond terrible. Yeah. It was awful. And here's another thing, all right? It's not a definite that you're going to be good at it, even if you're good as a host, because David Letterman did it. And he thought he had a funny routine going where he kept going between Uma Thurman and Oprah Winfrey. Oprah. It was horrible. It was embarrassing. You can fail even if you're good at it.
Angelo, there was no bigger Letterman fan than me in 1995. I had a picture of Letterman on my wall. I loved him. And I talked myself into saying he did a good job. I feel like those Trump fans that listen to like Lara Trump singing and they pretend that they like it because they love Trump so much. That's what I was like. I was like, oh my God, he's underrated as a host, but he was terrible. And looking back on it, he was.
And here's the point.
Go ahead, man.
If someone's not going to get slapped on stage, really, there's just everything is. I'll never forget Jay walking into work that morning after. Now I had not seen it, and I walk in and Angelo goes, "Do you know about the award show?" And I go, "No," and he goes, "Sit down." And once that happened with Will Smith, everybody's waiting for the next big catastrophe to happen with an awards show on stage.
I woke up to like 35 messages from Angelo going, you got to call in. We're talking about this.
Yes, that's right. We did get you on that day. I'll give you the best. All right. In order. This is the best in order. Johnny Carson. He's always the best.
Yep.
Billy Crystal. He had a great run on the Oscars. Steve Martin, fantastic. And way back, Bob Hope. Those were the best that ever did it.
I got to say, I do like Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know if I put him in the top 5, but I do think he does a very good job. You need a big name that everybody knows, and he's as close as we get. And it does say something that Kimmel's as close as we have to Carson. We need a new Carson, everybody. Get a new Carson.
Love Carson.
So just in general, expanding out from the hosts, when you look at an award show, do they still have a place in television? Do people still care about them? Angelo, do you still care about awards?
Yes.
And if you do, what do you like about them?
I love award shows. First of all, I don't know what not to love. I love really attractive women dressed provocative. I love that. I'm sorry. Hate me if you must. I like a plunging neckline. I like it. All right. I love when they give somebody the award for something I loved. Right? Like if they're the best picture, Rocky. I love confirmation that I was right. Now that doesn't happen that often. You know that, Rhea, right? I love to be told I'm right. And my all-time favorite thing, in memoriam. I love the music and all the pictures coming up. Sometimes there's somebody you didn't realize had passed away. It's poignant and it's riveting. I love award shows.
Reading obituaries too, correct?
All right. Later in this show, Rhea, you will see how obsessed I am with death.
Yes, okay.
The thing about In Memoriam, which is great, is you always get like the applause-o-meter on who mattered more.
Yes.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
There's always there'll be some like assistant director that died, and they'd be like, "Yeah," and then it's a big star, and everybody's so sorry to see him go. What about you, Rhea? You a fan? Do you like him?
I'm on the shallow end with Angelo here. I am not a big awards person, but it's very simple. I generally don't watch the top films because they're too artsy for me. I don't get into them. I really just watch for the outfits. I want to see the dresses. I want to see, what woman is like. I love to see women, who absolutely dress as beautiful as they can, and they get it. It's old Hollywood glamour. And then the women who I go, you seriously could not have had a stylist when you put that together. So that's amusing to me. I love the red carpet.
Yeah, it's great.
I was the entertainment at an award show for a corporate event last night.
I saw you posted online. You look very good in a suit.
I appreciate that. Thank you. But they were like, I got up, I did my 20 minutes, and they were like, "Do you want to stick around for the awards?" And I said, "I'm cartwheeling right out of here. I'm driving home. Not my cup of tea." But I do agree with you, Angelo. There is something great about seeing the movies that you watched get, like, if you really love something, other people who are in the industry doing it. I do think that splitting the Oscars into 2 events would be better for everybody. And here's what I mean. Put all the technical stuff, the documentary, the foreign film, do an online event for that, for the people who care about it. There's 10 awards that anybody cares about, right?
Exactly.
Do an hour and a half show, started at 8, done at 10, get all the big stars out. Everybody would watch that. Why would watch it? Do 4 hours of best foreign film or best documentary that no one cares about? Oh, best foreign short. Let me run out and go see that. Get rid of it. And I know that upsets cinephiles. I'm a cinephile. I'll watch it online. Give me a 2-hour show with the 10 awards that everybody cares about. That is a slam dunk, and everybody watches that. I don't know why they do it. They don't do it. So switching over to one of our favorite subjects, streaming. I don't know if you guys saw this. I should have put the article in there when I sent out the email, but Showtime is now going to be rebranded on January 6th, I believe. It'll be rebranded Paramount Plus with Showtime. It's no longer going to be Showtime. They're sort of integrating it together. It's a weird hybrid beast. If you have it on your regular TV, it'll have a mix of the Showtime originals and new Paramount Plus programming. But really, they're retiring the brand. It is no longer going to be a standalone brand. And my dad had Showtime. I'm a child of divorce because, of course, I am. I mean, I'm a comedian. My dad had Showtime, so I always think of Showtime as sort of like HBO, but like not so great. It's like it's like TJ Maxx's version of HBO. Do you have any affinity for the brand, Angela? I know you were a huge Dexter guy.
I
right?
do, and I don't understand why you think so little of it. Currently, I watch Mayor of Kingstown on it. It's a very good show. Dexter's one of the best shows I've ever seen. It's in the top 10. Ray Donovan is one of the greatest TV characters I've ever seen. That's Showtime. You want sexy? Let me give you sexy. The Affair, starring my heartthrob, Ruth Wilson, right? How about you want to see something great that you haven't seen? The performance of Billie Piper in a show called The Secret Diary of a Call Girl. Showtime, early aughts, 2000, 2005, in that area. Phenomenal. They've always had something good on. Always. They're underrated as a deliverer of good quality stuff. I like Showtime, and I'm sad to see it's getting rebranded.
Yeah. Rhea, were you a fan? Did you watch it or?
Here's the funny thing is when I cut the cord and I was at the AT&T store and they were, I was getting direct TV stream. They said, "Hey, listen, we can give you HBO, Showtime, but a couple of the pay channels for free, for 3 months." And I went, don't think in my life I've ever watched anything on Showtime. It's not a go-to for me. And I know, Angelo, all those shows you mentioned, you really liked. And I did a long time ago. I think I watched the first 2 seasons of Dexter, which I did like a lot. But I don't even ever click on it. So it's never been a go-to place for me.
If you were a teenage boy going to your dad's house in the 90s and he had
Showtime at 2 a.m,
there was something about Showtime going, well, HBO has R-rated movies, but we have R-rated movies with far more nudity.
Yes.
So there was a place for that. And I have my tongue in my cheek a little bit here, but I do think there is a place for when there were 2 titans of pay television, one saying, how do we differentiate ourselves from the premiere, the HBO? The fact that Showtime was willing to go a little bit more, I don't want to say steamy, but a little bit more seamy would be a good word for it. Like they would go where HBO wouldn't
steamy.
go.
Yeah.
And there was some good stuff that came out of that. And yeah, no, Angela, I am sorry to see it go. I think Paramount Plus with Showtime is the worst brand. Not since Max has there been worse branding. Get words. Stop putting 13 words in your brand. Showtime is a great brand. You should have just kept that.
Listen, that you brought it up just because a lot of people listen just for this. Even though we haven't talked about Max or HBO recently, David Zaslav still stinks.
One thing that does not stink is America's favorite segment, the British and Teen segment this week. And I think this week, Rhea said we're combining them together.
I am combining it, and I have to give props to Angelo, who originally recommended season 1 to me several months ago. Well, Angelo's season 2 of Fisk has dropped on Netflix, and I have already binged all 6 episodes. So if anybody doesn't remember from when we first talked about it, it's basically a workplace comedy taking place in Melbourne, Australia. So it's an Australian show that primarily deals with probate law, wills, and they wound up making it very funny. The main character is Helen Tudor Fisk. She's a real quirky lawyer who works with a brother and sister who started the firm, and their office assistant, George, played by Aaron Chen. He's fantastic. What I didn't realize, because I said, let me kind of look, because I don't know anything about Kitty Flanagan, who's the main star of the show. So she co-writes the show with her sister Penny. And I didn't realize she's like a huge stand-up comic in Australia who really didn't get the opportunity to get her own show until she wrote this book in 2019. It's called 488 Rules for Life, The Thankless Art of Being Correct. Apparently was a huge success. One of her rules, guys, you'll love this. Men must wear shorts over leggings at the gym because the gym is not a place to find out whether or not you've been circumcised. So these are part of her rules for life. But so what I found, and the reason I put in with Teen is Clark watched it with me, and he watched season 2. He didn't watch season 1, but he saw me, heard me laughing, and he came in, loved it. He loved George, who plays basically the office receptionist. There is a scene in season 2. I don't want to give it away because it's kind of a surprise thing, but it has a prosthetic of a penis that I certainly wasn't expecting while I'm sitting next to my son. And we were dying. It's the first time he hasn't run out of the room because we were laughing too hard. So it's season 2 is just as funny as season 1. But Ange, here's the interesting thing, and I kind of gave Jay a little tip when I started studying about the show. So Kitty Flanagan plays Helen. Her co-host, the Ray and Roz, the brother sister. It's let me get their names right: Marty Sheargold, Julio Zamiro, also stand-up comics, and Aaron Chen, who plays the assistant. They're all stand-up comics, and Kitty co-writes the show with her sister, who's actually an indie band kind of star. But it made me think: are the better sitcoms, like comedy sitcoms, are they all populated by stand-up comics? Or like, because I don't remember Friends. Like, was anybody on Friends a stand-up comic?
Not on Friends, no.
Yeah.
So many others. Ray Romano.
Yeah, you mentioned Ray Romano. I didn't know Brad was a stand-up comic until after the show.
Yeah.
You work with him, right, Jay?
I'm going to be working with him in April. We've done probably 25, 30 shows together at this point. He is a phenomenal stand-up comic, well worth seeing. Don't go if you get offended easily, but he reached out and said, do stand-up comics make shows better? And I wrote back, stand-up comics make everything except interpersonal relationships better.
True.
We are great to be friends with. But I will say this, one of the things about acting that I have noticed is that a lot of the acting schools, one of the first things that they do is they try to like teach you how to not be self-conscious as you talk in front of people. Like all the jokes where they say, I'm a tree. They're not trying to teach you how to be a tree. They're trying to teach you how to be ridiculous while other people are looking on and not feel self-conscious. I often think of like when you guys would go down to the Borgata and there would be a group of people around you. You have to put on your show, even though people are watching, and not be in your head. People are watching. How do I do this? People are watching. So I do think that stand-up comics spend years and years and years learning how to not be self-conscious in front of people. So switching over to acting, especially comedic acting, isn't as hard a job as it is for someone who maybe never acted, not coming from an entertainment position. I think it's also the reason why, Angelo, you were so good on the Goldbergs when you made your acting debut there.
It's amazing on it. I can't believe I didn't get an Emmy.
Stunning.
I voted for
you. I gotta say, Rhea, what's this thing with prosthetic penises now? I only saw the first one of season 2, but that was in the curse. Yeah. That was Nathan Fielder. What's with all these penises?
Yeah, there was a penis sketch this week on SNL.
My wife is yelling pervert from the other room. I don't believe that. Jeez.
No, tell her I brought it up. Well, the thing is, what I knew from living in London 30 years ago is that on regular TV, they had no problem with nudity ever. Oh, and really? So they never did. What they never liked to show was violence. Which I think is, nudity is natural, violence is not. So I think that they actually got that part right. So it was shocking to Clark and I because, and it's weird for me to explain, it's not technically a nude scene, but there's a prosthetic penis in it that we were so shocked, but it was so funny. Yeah. So it's what made the scene really phenomenal and people will love it.
I'll tell a quick story before we get to Angelo. When I was a little kid, I wanted to see the Terminator really bad. 1984 was the Terminator. I was like 9 years old, I guess, when it came out, 10 years old. And my dad was like, all right, I'll rent the Terminator and I'll see if there's any parts that you can't see. So he goes out and he rents the Terminator. And he goes, all right, there's just one scene that's dirty that you're not allowed to see. So he watched the whole movie. And the scene that he thought was dirty was Linda Hamilton gets naked for like 4 seconds. So he fast forwards through Linda Hamilton being naked. The rest of the Terminator, apparently,
No
fine.
problem.
He's taken out his own eye with an X-Acto knife. 9,000 cops shot
Totally
the dad.
fine.
My dad's like, no problem. This is fine for a child.
Yeah.
4 seconds of a nipple. What? Avert your eyes. You're going to
Yeah.
go blind if you see this. That's America in a nutshell.
Correct.
This guy grew up. Angelo, what do you got for us this week?
All right, this is I may be tipping my toe into Rhea's territory here, but I have a great show on Hulu, and it does kind of channel my obsession with death. The name of the show is Obituary. All right, Rhea, it is an Irish show. It is.
Yes, it is.
And you know this. You know.
I haven't seen it. I gone by it a couple of times, but I haven't checked it out yet.
It's very good. Here's why. If you like Dexter, the premise of Dexter, you will love Obituary, because this is a woman played brilliantly by an actress named Siobhan Cullen. She's phenomenal in this.
It's pronounced Siobhan.
All right. So anyway, she is an obituary writer in a little town. And it's so little, not that many people die, and she gets paid by the obituary. So she decides to pick out people who should be killed and to kill them and then write their obituary. It's similar to Dexter. Dexter was a serial killer, but he only killed people he thought deserved to get killed. And the thing is, this is lighter than Dexter. There's not so much violence. It's primarily funny. It's spooky at times. And it's sexy at times. Her best friend is gorgeous and keeps stealing her boyfriends. And I'm at the point in the show now where she's pondering whether she should kill her friend. But it's a really good show. I'm halfway through it. I believe it's 10 episodes. It's called Obituary on Hulu. And I'm pretty sure you will enjoy it if you try it.
Okay.
You especially, Rhea. You like it because they have accents.
Yeah, I literally clicked over it a couple of times, but I was just like, I wasn't sure but now that I know what it's about, now I'm interested.
Well, I would like to get your review of it if you get a chance, because I defer to you most of the time, but I was running out of good stuff.
I will watch it this weekend. I'll make it my British thing for next week.
Beautiful.
There's gonna be 10 years from now where all these cases are cold cases. It's always the cold case. All these murders happen. It'll be a grizzled old detective. I have one from the movie theater. There's actually a lot of people on Twitter asked me to please review this. Godzilla -1. I don't know if you guys are Godzilla fans. Angela, it doesn't strike me as something you like. I know you probably.
I'm over the age of 12, so that would be a no.
Well, I'm going to say that Godzilla -1. I'm going to get this wrong. The director is Takashi Yamazaki. They call him Japan's Spielberg because he does a lot of period pieces. He's got a great eye for cinematography, and he's a little schmaltzy, but he's a really good director. He starts with the humans in Godzilla -1. This is a human story about a kamikaze pilot who survived the war because he pretended that his plane had problems and landed. And he's dealing with the lack of honor that comes from a failed kamikaze
that's right.
pilot. When he gets back, the woman that lives next to his parents said, maybe we wouldn't have lost if there were less men like you. If there was, if you hadn't been such a coward, maybe we would have won this war. So that's where we start from the human element. And then Godzilla shows up. Right?
Of course.
It's a human story about honor, about found family, and there's a giant mutant dinosaur that occasionally destroys Tokyo. Now, if you like Godzilla movies, and I do because I'm a nerd, it's a great Godzilla movie, but it's a great movie first. It is a great movie about these characters that just happens.
Sure.
I'm telling you, I know you guys won't go see it in the theater. You should go see it in the theater. When this comes out, just make me a promise you'll watch the first 10 minutes of the movie. And if you're not hooked by this movie, I will be shocked. It is currently the highest grossing foreign language movie of the year. It will make $60 million in America because the word of mouth is phenomenal. 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Guys, go see Godzilla -1. It is a great movie that just so happens to have Godzilla in it, which I would say all movies should have Godzilla in it at some point.
Right. I question you even going to a movie theater to see this, but it sounds like it might be worth our time.
It is. It's so good.
Or you have horrible taste. I'm not sure one or the other. Let me go through what we did today.
Yeah.
Brooklyn 999 was the biggest thing that Adrian Braugher did. You could see that on Peacock. It's also on Apple Plus and Prime at $1.50 an episode. We were talking about In Memoriam. The best one that has one every week is CBS Sunday Morning.
I love that show.
Isn't it a great show?
It's a great show. People should watch CBS This Morning on Sunday. It has stories that you'll never hear anywhere else.
That's Sunday at 9 a.m. You could see that. Dexter, Ray Donovan, Secret Diary of a Call Girl, and Mayor of Kingstown, all on Showtime, soon to be Paramount Plus. Rhea is recommending Fisk on Netflix. I agree.
Season 2.
It's great. It does provide you with another look at a prosthetic penis. Also, I am recommending Hulu Obituary, which is a really terrific Irish show, and our very highly rated Godzilla -1. It sounds ridiculous. But anyway, in theaters now, a high recommendation from our own Jay Black.
You will love it. And guys, we love you for listening. I want to give a shout out to Jared Clapper, our producer. Make sure you go to angelocatali.com to get Loud, his book. That's the only place to get it in hardback, but you can get the paperback on Amazon.com. Jared Clapper, our producer, thank you so much for all you do. Check out his podcast, the Continental Sports Podcast. Well worth it. That kid's an up-and-comer. It's only going to be so much longer before he's working with us. He will be having his own podcast network soon enough. Please rate and review us on iTunes, and we'll be back next week with more great TV talk, guys. Thanks for joining us.